Hi guys, I've already shared my thoughts on the latest Tom Ford private blend collection fragrance called Rose Exposed on Instagram. If you caught that post, I despise this fragrance. I hated it. I got a preview of it over at Neiman Marcus way before it started selling, and I just went for it. I sprayed it all over me before smelling it because everybody said it's a redo of Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation. And even though the idea might be similar, this stuff smells super nasty and I hated it. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about Rose Exposed and how it compares to the discontinued Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation. If you're curious to learn about the comparison between these two fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian, and I'm talking to you today about Rose Exposed versus Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation. Have you compared these two fragrances yet? Do you know what Rose Exposed smells like? Have you gotten your nose on it? Do let me know. Add a comment below so I can find out what your thoughts are on it. Am I the only one reacting to this like this? Because I enjoyed Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation. It got discontinued quite quickly. And it came out as part of a trio of Rose Garden fragrances. There's also Rose the Sheen and Rose the Amalfi. Rose the Amalfi is my favorite, by the way. But Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation was very leathery, smoky, fresh spicy, I guess, ambery, and maybe smoky as well. But when I put on Rose Exposed, I wore that thing all day pretty much because it was pretty early in the day, and I went and washed my skin, my hands, my arm, where I sprayed it all over him. And even though I got quite a bit of it off, I would, move around and I get whiffs of it, and I just would be like, oh gosh, this stuff is quite nasty. So if it is the same fragrance, they must have been using a different ingredients, or I should say they're using the same ingredients but from different sources, because the formulation doesn't smell the same, or the fragrance hasn't maturated or macerated. Because after I came back from wearing it, and after having the challenging time wearing it, I pulled out Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation because I hide it away for where all my discontinued fragrances are, and I smelled it, and I noticed that Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation is much brighter, not as dark, as muted as Rose Exposed. And I feel like the rose is quite hidden in Rose Exposed, and you can actually smell roses in Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation. So that's why I reacted so negatively to Rose Exposed. And I thought to myself, what has happened to Tom Ford? Last several fragrances are not that exciting, and now we've got a complete freaking dud from Tom Ford, even after they said, or they claimed, that it's a redo of Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation. So before I open up Rose Exposed, if you've compared these two fragrances already, let me know. Let us know. Add yourself a comment down below. Do let us know, because I don't know if I'm the only one reacting like this, but after I posted my post on Instagram about Rose Exposed, there was an article posted over at Fragrantica having a similar reaction. So I guess I'm not the only one, but maybe there are a few, because when I posted that post on Instagram, some people said they really loved it, and in fact it shares over to my fragrance my Facebook account, and also on YouTube I shared it, and some people said they really enjoyed Rose Exposed. So let's see how this is going to be in comparison to Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation side by side. But a little info on Rose Exposed. It's the latest Tom Ford private blend collection fragrance. Let me open this up. It's a 2025 launch, although I got to smell it late last month, and I posted about it a bit later. No perfumer is credited for either Rose Exposed or Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation, so I don't know why they're hiding the name. But this is comes in a 50 ml for $300. I guess they felt like it was a good enough fragrance to bring this back, and they felt bad about discontinuing it. But this is Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation, white pepper and black leather accord. Those are the only notes that they credit for Rose Exposed. And then with the Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation is rose, spicy white pepper, and woods leather. That's what the notes breakdown is. And if you have, tuned into my channel since 22 when Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation launched, you'll see video on there about those fragrances, and all three of the fragrances that are part of the Rose Garden collection. So let's quickly smell this on a strip, and then I'm going to spray the fragrance on hand. I feel bad about spraying it there. And then I'm going to spray Rose-On-Rose-Co-Distillation on the other hand, so I can do a side-by-side comparison of the two. But I've already got my nose on this in store, wore it, and I hated it. Let me know if you hate it, if you've gotten your nose on it. Let me know if you love it. I mean, I'm getting spices and dark muted leathery rose. It's pretty dark. For me, on skin, it gets really, really leathery and uber smoky, and the leather and smoke dominates with some rose and thorny kind of stemmy green stem accords thrown in as well. So the rose has a very green effect happening against the leathery touches and the spices. Here it's quite dark, and as I said, the rose is quite muted. But from that experience, I'm thinking, not a very pleasant rose, unfortunately. It just feels like it's not very welcoming. That's the word. Because I couldn't wait to wash the fragrance off me. And it just rubbed me the wrong way. And it wasn't the kind of rose that I really enjoyed. But again, when I sampled Rose the RUSSIE, I really enjoyed it. In fact, it was a great fragrance. I didn't react this negatively to Rose Exposed. I don't know what was wrong with Rose Exposed, but here we have it again, and it's quite dark take on rose. Very leathery and peppery smoky. So I think they're utilizing a lot of the, well, peppery notes like black pepper or white pepper comes off kind of smoky, and with the leather together, it creates a smoky effect happening because leather tends to go smoky, all that kind of smoky touches with the tanneries and the creation of leather from the animals and things like that. So it's a very smoky, dark take on roses. And for me, I thought to myself, this rose has been picked and dragged through the dirt and earth because it smells very dirty, but even though there's animalic qualities about it because of the leather, but there's also dirt qualities about it. Like, it just seems very dirty. And I'm referring to the earth dirt rather than the animalic dirty kind of smell, even though it has those animalic qualities as well. So those are my thoughts with that. Let's quickly smell the Rose de RUSSIE on a strip. Again, this has been macerating in the bottle, maturating since 22. See, this smells a lot more balanced. I feel like the rose is kind of taking a backseat with Rose Exposed. It's more of an afterthought when they're really, really pumping at you the leather and the smoky spiciness of the peppery notes in there, which is basically white pepper, but still, it's kind of like a black pepper. But this, on the other hand, it's so balanced, nothing is jumping out too much. You get a lot of the rose, a lot of the spice, and there's leather in there, but not overwhelmingly annoying. So much more balanced. And I'm smelling the rose in this not as stemmy green as the rose in Rose Exposed. So that's the difference right now. But let's quickly smell the two side by side on two different hands. I'm going for it. It's 50 ml, and that's all the size they have right now for this. Maybe they'll have a 250 ml decanter, but so far it's a 50 ml. And I think that's all they had of the Rose de RUSSIE as well. And later on they added decanters of the other two fragrances, and I believe that those came after Rose de RUSSIE was discontinued. So let's see how these smell side by side. Yeah, I really like Rose de RUSSIE. Something about Rose Exposed is rubbing me the wrong way. I feel like overall it's the same fragrance, but such a negative reaction to Rose Exposed. With Rose de RUSSIE, it's nicely balanced and very wearable leathery rose. Spices are there, it's powdery. It also has an ambery base I'm smelling here, kind of resins. I'm smelling resins with leather. This is really nice fragrance, really, really nice. So personally to me, I feel like the formula has changed a little, or the sourcing of the ingredients is different because they don't smell alike. So something must have happened between the first version, which is Rose-On-Rose-Co, to the Rose Exposed, and they tried to recreate the same thing, and it turned out smelling a little different. Does that make sense? Yeah, this smells unpleasant, and again, as I was saying, the leather has been amped up, extremely amped up. I think both will find an audience, although you can't find an audience for Rose-On-Rose-Co. It's discontinued now, so if you've been a fan of it, enjoy it, because that's all they have, and I should not spray more of my Rose-On-Rose-Co. But in regards to Rose Exposed, I think, as I mentioned, some people said it smelled great to them. Sure, they agreed it was dark and smoky, but they really liked it. I didn't care for it, as I said, but I'm assuming it's going to find an audience. For me, it's another disappointing Tom Ford fragrance, unfortunately. And here we have several fragrances back to back that are not fragrances that I'm really enjoying. And I'm going to do a video on Tom Ford fragrances soon. I think we're going to do a video on the 2023 and 2024 up to now fragrances to 2025, early 2025. And I'm going to rank the fragrances of how they are and what they smell like and things like that. So stay tuned for that video. But in the meantime, do let me know your thoughts on Rose Exposed, what your thoughts are on it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? After watching this video also, are you going to want to check this one out? Again, Tom Ford has had amazing fragrances in the past, and some of them were featuring roses. In fact, Noir de Noir has to be one of the best fragrances ever created from any brand. Absolutely love that fragrance. Cafe Rose was also great, and of course they have Rose de Chine and Rose de Amalfi, and now we've got Rose Exposed. There's also Rose Prick, which I also consider to be a great fragrance, but this just rubbing me the wrong way, and I don't know if I can fully embrace it, wrap my head around it, or my arms around it and really enjoy it. But maybe it'll grow on me, I don't know. But for some reason my nose is picking up different things in Rose Exposed compared to Rose-On-Rose-Co, and that's why I reacted so negatively to it. But what do you guys think? Do you think I'll grow into enjoying this one? Let me know your thoughts. But I do have to say, the bottle is gorgeous as usual. I love the frosted look of the matte finish kind of thing that they're doing here. They always do a great job with their bottles. And are they going to have a 250 ml decanter of this? This is part of the less expensive collection of Tom Ford fragrances. So it's not like the F Fabulous. And they do have a Parfum coming out, which I've gotten my nose on as well recently. I'm going to share my thoughts on that very soon with you guys. That doesn't launch until like the first week in February, but most likely some retailers will put it out earlier than that. But to me, Rose Exposed is a dud. And I've hated fragrances and circled back to them and enjoyed them. And the big example is Baccarat Rouge. I despised that fragrance. It's despised it, but I smelled it everywhere and got used to it. Also, Vanilla Powder and Crystal Saffron. Those fragrances I despised. I couldn't really, wear those because it just rubbed me the wrong way. And same thing is happening here. So maybe I'll circle back to it and enjoy it. But here, there's definitely differences. And I'm much preferring the Rose-On-Rose-Co, but sadly Rose-On-Rose-Co is gone, and now we have Rose Exposed. But do let me know your thoughts on this fragrance. If you've compared the two fragrances that we're talking about, add a comment below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye. Alright guys, as mentioned in the video, I got my nose on F Fabulous Parfum, just like I got my nose on Rose Exposed before it launched. Same thing happened with F Fabulous Parfum. So I know the sales associates, and they call me in to get a whiff of some of the fragrances that are launching in advance. And being a fan of Tom Ford, they call me in. The thing is, I enjoyed F Fabulous Parfum more than the original Fabulous. And you know my channel, you've been following me. I don't speak about F Fabulous much at all, if at all. It's a fragrance that I enjoyed, but for me, I don't find it to be one of the best fragrances from Tom Ford. But I did enjoy the Parfum more than the original. There are some negatives about it. Well, there's a big negative. It's overpriced. It's extremely overpriced. A 50 ml for over $600. That's going to keep a lot of folks from buying this fragrance. But then again, some people enjoy the fragrance and they're going to want to buy a concentrated take on the original. But here's the thing. I enjoyed the smell better because it was smoother than the original. But there is a negative about the enjoyment of the smell. It lacked a little of its loudness. For me, I compared the two side by side, and the F Fabulous Parfum was not as loud as the original in Eau de Parfum, but was much smoother, and you still have a similar smell. To me, it smelled very similar, but the way it wore on skin was much smoother and more balanced. You still had those tonka and nutty notes in there, but it had some much more smoothness about it, and a bit more cozy and inviting in comparison to the big projection monster that the original is. And I'm not saying it's one of the loudest fragrances, but for me, when you were comparing, or when I compared them side by side, I felt the Parfum was a bit more subdued in comparison to the original, but I enjoyed the Parfum much more than the original because it was much smoother. It was more inviting, a bit more gourmandesque take on it, more ambery and balsamic. So I have a sample that was made for me. I'm going to just give you my thoughts on it here without telling you about notes breakdown. I've spoken about this here and there in a few videos. You can go catch those videos. Just look up the words, the real words. I'm not saying the words here. Look up the real words and add the Parfum to it, and then there should be some videos that I've mentioned the fragrance in upcoming or future videos. I mean, future fragrances. So I'm smelling it already. It's pretty loud, but for me, comparing them side by side, it acted a little different. So you've got the tonka in it. It's very bitter almondy kind of a smell, nutty, and leathery. There are some slight aromatic touches, but there's a major amber component about this. And this is the second time I'm smelling this. I tested it out once at Neiman Marcus, as I said. Here I'm getting my nose on this. It's much, much better than Rose Exposed. Much better. Much, much better. And the second time I'm smelling it here, I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than the first time even. So $600 plus for a bottle of F Fabulous Parfum. So this is all I'm going to tell you about the F Fabulous Parfum today. I don't have a bottle, I just have a sample. I'm not going to tell you more, but just giving you the breakdown. It had great longevity, but it wasn't a projection monster like the Eau de Parfum is. And again, as I said, I don't consider it a monster, but in comparison to the two together, side by side, F Fabulous, the original, projected a lot more than the Parfum, whereas the Parfum lasts, but it doesn't have that projection that I like. But that's not always necessary with fragrances. But the Parfum is quite nice. F Fabulous Parfum, very ambery, not as dry as the original, and not as green. Because the original had that kind of clary sage or some kind of an herb in there. I'm drawing a blank with what herbal note there is in there. I think it was clary sage or sage in general. This doesn't seem to have it as much. It's more ambery, a bit wetter, kind of stickier. Still the powdery effect it has, but very overwhelming with the tonka. Yeah, I like this one. Much more than Rose Exposed. Anyway, I'll do a video on the fragrance as soon as it launches. And I believe, last thing I want to say, if you're a fan of the original F Fabulous, I was told that the Tom Ford brand is no longer going to be making a decanter of it. So if you're in the market for a decanter, get yourself a decanter right away of the original. And I'm not sure about the Parfum in the decanter, because if the original is going to be over $600, God knows what the 250 ml of the Parfum is going to be. Who knows? Can you guys guess? I don't know. I don't know how much it's going to be, but definitely like $3,000 probably. That's a lot of money. Anyway, guys, we'll let you know about F Fabulous Parfum very soon. Stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, if you have gotten your nose on Rose Exposed, do add a comment below. Also, if you've gotten your nose on the latest F Fabulous Parfum, do let me know about that as well. See you later. Bye-bye.